Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that just completely flips our ideas of success, wealth, and purpose right on their head. We're looking at the classic folktale of iron and gold. You know, we so often think of success purely in terms of what we can stockpile, the fancy titles we can slap next to our names, the crazy luxuries we can buy. But this narrative, it turns all of those assumptions upside down. It uses this brilliant, stark contrast between two very different lives to ask some seriously tough questions about what actually makes a person valuable.
So, let me ask you something. Would you trade literally all of your free time for a massive mountain of gold? I mean, it sounds like a hypothetical, maybe even a bit of a cliche, right? But as we're going to see, this is the exact lived reality for one of our main characters. It really forces us to ask whether ultimate wealth is a ticket to freedom, or if actually it's the most expensive cage you could ever buy. Keep that dilemma in mind as we follow the journey of two lifelong friends.
All right, so the whole setup here is pretty simple. Two friends, John and Patrick, decide it's time to leave home, hit the road, and just see what they can become. John heads over the mountains, Patrick heads straight to the city. But right before they split, they make a pact. They promise to meet back at the exact same spot in exactly 10 years to see what they've made of themselves. Well, 10 long summers pass by, and when year 10 finally arrives, the reunion reveals that their paths, man, they couldn't have been more drastically different.
Let's look at case study 1, the burden of gold.
So fast forward 10 years. When Patrick shows up at the reunion, he doesn't just casually stroll up. No way. He arrives with an entire entourage. He is now officially His Lordship Sir Patrick Sullivan, the chief treasurer of the kingdom and a core member of the king's court. He hit the big time, and I mean really big. As the chief treasurer, Patrick is pulling in 15,000 gold coins a month. To put that into perspective, that isn't just enough to buy his friend John's entire village. It's enough to buy the village and fully renovated 12 times over, every single month. The guy is one of the richest, most important men in the entire kingdom.
And naturally, this insane wealth translates directly into a lifestyle of absolute mind-blowing extravagance. We are talking pure gold door handles on his mansion. When you walk in, you're immediately handed a hot towel and offered a choice of citrus, rose, or lavender perfumes. He's constantly getting gifts of exotic foreign fruits. The guy even had a bespoke, private nature brook engineered right on his property, literally moving earth and water just to recreate a piece of nature. And his wardrobe? Custom suits made of silk, velvet, satin, completely decked out with gold buttons, diamonds, and rubies. It's a life literally designed to dazzle everyone who sees it.
But get this, the absolute ultimate flex, the moment that truly sums up the absolute peak of Patrick's royal lifestyle, is this. The king hosts a breakfast aboard a ship 3 miles out at sea, and it's prepared by 10 different chefs from 10 different countries. It's this wildly elaborate event designed to show that absolutely no luxury is out of reach. I mean, it sounds like the absolute pinnacle of human existence, doesn't it?
But wait a second. Let's look at the hidden cost of all this gold. When John visits Patrick, he instantly notices the chaotic, just relentless reality of his friend's life. Patrick is constantly on edge. One minute, he has to rush to the royal palace on a 10-minute notice. The next, he's totally stressed out about an incoming trade delegation from the Kingdom of Wraithville. Then he has to host these massive evening banquets. The tragic irony of the whole shebang, Patrick has that incredibly expensive, custom-built private brook, but he literally never has time to swim in it. He barely even has time to eat his luxurious food or get a single decent night's sleep.
John hits the nail right on the head with this observation. It's almost as if his responsibilities take his luxuries away. What an incredibly insightful thought. Like, what is the point of having all that wealth and status if the sheer demands of maintaining it rob you of your ability to actually enjoy your life? Patrick is, for all intents and purposes, a prisoner to his own importance.
Which brings us to case study 2, the strength of iron.
Okay, so let's pivot away from the royal court and head over the mountains to see what John has been up to for the last decade. It turns out John followed his passion for playing with fire. He became a blacksmith. And the second these two reunite, the physical divide is just glaringly obvious. Patrick's hands are totally pristine. I mean, he handles gold, silver, and gems all day long. John's hands, on the other hand, are rough, calloused, blistered. As he proudly tells Patrick, he handles coal, iron, and fire all day. He is absolutely not afraid to get his hands dirty. But as we're about to see, this physical grit buys John something that all of Patrick's gold couldn't possibly afford.
Look at the sheer difference in their day-to-day lives. While Patrick is force-feeding himself at these 10-country exotic banquets,
John craves something completely different. Potatoes cooked in their jackets with a bit of butter. Simple, hearty, satisfying. The whole pace of their lives is totally opposite, too. Patrick is just rushed, constantly sprinting at the mercy of royal demands and trade delegations. John, he is completely autonomous. He sets his own schedule. If he wants to take an afternoon off to go for a swim, he just does it. And when it comes down to rest, Patrick can't even find 5 minutes to enjoy his own massive estate. But when Patrick actually stays at John's humble home, just sleeping by the fire, he wakes up declaring it the best sleep he's had in a long, long time. Peace, it turns out, is a luxury money absolutely cannot buy.
And John's life isn't just about simple comforts. It is about deep, tangible value to his community. In just a really short window of time, we see him replace a broken hammer for a brother who completely lacks the money to pay him. He lends his own personal kettle to a local girl named Eva just so she can make tea and broth for her sick father. He drops everything to forge a fresh batch of 500 size 2 nails for a local carpenter whose project is running way behind schedule. John is out there directly solving real problems for the real people standing right in front of him. When you really look at the kingdom's reliance on John, it's pretty wild. Patrick's assistant, Henry, looks around and realizes something profound. The entire societal system literally cannot run without John. Across 7 different villages, nobody makes sturdier or sharper tools. The farmers, they need his tools for the fields. The kitchens absolutely depend on his cutlery and kettles. The carpenters need his nails, and it scales all the way up the chain. The ships need his fittings, and the king's army desperately relies on his well-crafted daggers and swords. Without John's iron, the kingdom's entire infrastructure just crumbles.
And that leads us right into our final section, redefining true importance.
You know, even Patrick and his assistant Henry have to admit that the kingdom desperately needs craftsmen exactly like John. Actually, they even suggest he starts supplying the king's army directly because his work is just that exceptional. But John totally rejects the premise that he needs to move up some imaginary social ladder to be considered valuable. As he tells Henry, everyone is important as long as we do the very best of what we do. John literally doesn't want the burden of excess wealth. He actually says he doesn't want so much money that he becomes too scared to get his hands dirty with coal and iron.
So here's the absolute core message of the whole story. It's neither money nor status that makes us important. It is how best we do what we do that makes us important. That completely reorients our standard, everyday definition of success. Status is really just a title. Money is really just a resource. But the quality of your craft, the dedication you bring to your daily tasks, and the reliable value you provide to the people around you, that is genuine importance. John's iron is arguably far more vital to the daily survival of the kingdom than Patrick's mountain of gold could ever be. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Look at your own life, your own career, your own goals. Are you endlessly chasing the burden of gold, sacrificing your peace, your sleep, and your freedom just to collect titles and luxuries you'll never actually have the time to enjoy? Or are you focused on mastering the strength of your iron, honing your craft, serving your community, and finding deep, real satisfaction in doing the very best at what you do? It's a powerful question, and definitely one worth holding on to. Thanks for hanging out with us, and keep mastering your iron.